Selenusa, the second edition of a conference series on microbial genomics and drug resistance has been held in Accra. It examined the effect of uncontrolled use of antibiotics during the peak of COVID-19 in the last 2 years and how it contributed to antimicrobial resistance.
Azithromycin was one potent antibiotic administered as a curative measure against COVID-19. During the peak of the viral infection, the drug was widely obtained and administered without prescription and caution for therapeutic purposes. This further heightened the incidence of antimicrobial resistance, which is now described as a pandemic on the continent.
We are in a part of the world where antibiotics is called and we put antibiotics in everything, including palm wine. And people take antibiotics even after going to chalk baths to clear any bacteria which is around. And that is becoming even more important post-COVID and also during the COVID. Because now, some very important antibiotics like azithromycin that people didn't even know before are being self-prescribed. I prescribe by anybody, any prescriber. I also prescribe by non-prescribers, and are sold over the counter in every corner of the country.
The widespread abuse was attributed to a number of factors.
Reasons for the growing threat of AMR include poor enforcement of regulatory framework on antimicrobial use, limited diagnostic and research structures that encourage prescription policies based on observations rather than laboratory reports, and suboptimal antibiotic supply chain policies.
Addressing the second edition of a conference series on microbial genomics and drug resistance, focusing on antimicrobial resistance in the era of the COVID-19 pandemic, the renowned cardiothoracic surgeon and chair of the Presidential Vaccine Manufacture and Production Committee, Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng, elaborated on an age-old intervention and alternative to antibiotics known as Bacteriophage. It is a virus that eats only bacteria cells found abundantly on Earth.
Sanitation of equipment and surfaces. They use phage material. Then apply to raw meat and produce. That one, they use that. And use as the preservatives to prolong the shelf life of all sorts of things. And then reduction of pathogens in intensively reared livestock. These are areas where you find the West applying bacteriophage research. As far as COVID is concerned, in two areas, one can apply bacteriophage therapy. One, to reduce or slow down bacterial growth, and also to use the phage as a template to produce synthetic antibodies.
A former Chief Pharmacist at the Ministry of Health, Dr. Gyansa-Lutterodt, said the time has come to control antimicrobial resistance to avert the crisis of bacterial infections that cannot be cured. The conference is the brain of the Department of Medical Microbiology of the University of Ghana Medical School. Sarah Furi, GBC News, Accra.